One of the problems with human beings is they're not very good with big numbers. Actually, they're much better with big numbers than most animals because they've got a wonderful compact way of writing them down. It's just that it's hard to understand what they mean. Take just the relatively small number of 1,000,000, for example. Now, to illustrate how big 1,000,000 is, I'm going to use the metric system because it's pretty good at things like that. It works in thousands. For example, a millimetre is less than the thickness of a penny, and 1,000 of them look like that. That's a metre. Now 1,000 metres is a kilometre. To show you that, I'm going to need different equipment. I'm going to go measure me some road. So I'm going to take the car from this sign and out down the road. 1 kilometre.
Slipping to the freak show in the midst of change. Stand near the corner, then work the lane. The line beside the freak show.
That little green sign in the middle of the screen, that's a kilometre away. So that's what 1,000,000 millimetres looks like. On the other hand, 6 millimetres is about that much. Hang on, Fluffy. Where did that 6 millimetres come from? I'm glad you asked. You see, a few days ago I was reading an article about the Walton family. Not the goodnight John Boy Waltons, the Walton family that owns Walmart. You see, there's 6 of them, and they're fabulously wealthy. So how wealthy are they? Well, that's the thing, you see. There are 6 of them, but between them, they have the same net worth as 1,000,000 median Americans. Your eyes probably just glazed over, right? Because even though I've just shown you the relative size of 6 to 1,000,000, it's still really hard to get your head around what this means. I mean, just the 6 Waltons have a combined net worth of over $100 billion. See, billion, there's another one of those big numbers. That's 1,000 times bigger than 1,000,000. If I were to drive and show you 1,000,000,000 millimetres, it would take me about 8 or 9 hours on the highway. And there'd be no point. I have to figure out another way of explaining a size like that. Well, let's say you live for about 30,000 days, which is near about 80 some years. And on the day you were born, someone gave you $1 billion. Now let's say you spent $30,000 every single day, you would still die with change. In fact, if you had that money in a 1% interest account, you could spend $27,000 a day without ever touching the principal. The reason these numbers are so hard to get to grips with is because they're so outside of what we normally experience in reality. They tend to rely on abstractions, and that's the point. That's the point of money. Money is an abstraction of wealth, and it's only because of the abstraction of the wealth that people are able to accumulate such gargantuan amounts of it. Let's say you're in a hunter-gatherer society, and you've just gone out and hunted, or gathered, a nice, juicy blackberry. So 1 blackberry weighs 4.7 grams. 1,000,000 blackberries weighs 4.7 tons. So imagine there's a tribe of about, say, 1,000 people. And little Davy Shyster, he has an idea. Everyone's out picking blackberries, and he's feeling very lazy. And he just goes up to every single person and he says, while you're picking blackberries, why don't you pick 1 for everyone else in the tribe? That's, 1,000 blackberries. Put them in a bucket and give them to me. So everyone does that. By the end of the day, everyone comes back, they've got 1 for themselves, and 1,000 in a bucket they give to Davy. Now, Davy didn't say he'd distribute them, So he's sitting there at the end of the day with a pile of 4.7 tons of blackberries. It's a pile about as high as me and twice as wide as I am tall. Now, when they're all looking at their one blackberry and then they look over at him, they can see what's gone on. And he'd be dead by the end of the day. Now, if he was living today, all that would be abstracted away into a bank account. And if they still were uppity about that, well, he'd just say, listen, would all of you spend your day slaving away in the blackberry bushes, picking 1,000 blackberries, if I hadn't done this? No, of course not. So I'm a jobs creator. Eh? That's clever, eh?